Hello, you're tuning in to Nightline with me, Nakia Bashiruddin. The headlines. Pahang ruler chosen as the new Yang di-Pertuan Agong. And almost 4 million to benefit from new insurance and takaful scheme. Pahang ruler Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah Sultan Ahmad Shah Al-Mustain Billah has been chosen as the 16th Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Al-Sultan Abdullah's 5-year tenure as Agong will start from January 31st. The Malay rulers arrived at Istana Negara on Thursday morning for a special meeting of the Conference of Rulers to elect the new Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The 251st special meeting, held for 1.5 hours, was convened after Sultan Muhammad V stepped down from the throne on January 6. In a statement, keeper of the ruler's seal, Tan Sri Syed Daniel Syed Ahmad, said 8 out of the 9 Malay rulers convened for the special meeting, chaired by Sultan of Terengganu, Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin. The Conference of Rulers then declared that Al-Sultan Abdullah had been elected as the new Yang di-Pertuan Agong for a period of 5 years, while Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, would retain his position as the Deputy Yang di-Pertuan Agong for the same period. In accordance with paragraph 3, part 1 of the 3rd schedule of the Federal Constitution, Tan Sri Syed Daniel stated that the decision of the Conference of Rulers had also been conveyed to the Prime Minister and both Houses of Parliament. The new Yang di-Pertuan Agong and the Deputy Yang di-Pertuan Agong would take their oath of office and sign the instrument of office in a special ceremony on January 31st. Despite being saddled with massive inherited debt, the government will continue to roll out initiatives to help the people, especially those in the low-income group or the B40. This was the assurance given by Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who launched the National B40 Protection Scheme known as My Salam on Thursday. According to the Prime Minister, the My Salam B40 National Protection Scheme will provide insurance and takaful benefits protection free of charge for the B40 group who received the People's Living Aid, BSHR. The scheme will affect some 3.69 million Malaysians between the ages of 18 and 55 under the group, helping them deal with financial difficulties arising from admission to government hospitals or when struck with one of the 36 critical illnesses. Tun Dr. Mahathir added the My Salam scheme is a significant move towards formulating a financial development policy that is more inclusive in Malaysia.
Pada tahun 2017, kadar penembusan insurans dan takaful dalam kalangan B40 yang bekerja adalah masih rendah pada kadar 30.3% berbanding dengan kadar 50.4% bagi kesemua rakyat bekerja. Kita berharap My Salam dapat meningkatkan penembusan insurans dan takaful untuk golongan B40 kerana ini amat bermakna dan penting dalam usaha kita meningkat taraf dan kualiti kehidupan kumpulan ini.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also announced My Salam's seed fund of 2 billion ringgit provided by Great Eastern Insurance and Takaful. Those under the scheme are entitled to free health coverage involving the 36 critical illnesses such as cancer, heart attack and Alzheimer's. The recipient of the My Salam scheme will also be entitled to a one-off payment of 8,000 ringgit if identified with one of the critical illnesses. A daily payment of 50 ringgit will also be given to the recipient who undergoes treatment at a government hospital for a maximum of 14 days a year. Coverage under the scheme commences January 1st next year, and the scheme's registration and takaful claims can be made from March 1st. Meanwhile, on the status of the East Coast Rail Link ECRL project, the Prime Minister said he is not aware whether the contract was awarded to China Communication Construction Company Limited, CCCC, has been terminated or not.
Dah tamat ke belum? Belum. Saya tak tahu. Saya bawa balik dia betul-betul ini. Terima kasih. Terima kasih. Akan dibincangkan.
Tun Dr. Made, however, said that the problem still needs to be dealt with by terminating the contract, but that the government would still have to pay a huge sum of compensation to the tune of billions of ringgit. Singapore's The Straits Times recently reported that Malaysia was in the process of seeking for a new contractor to lead the ECRL contract after terminating the contract awarded to CCCC. Quoting sources, The Straits Times report said Putrajaya was seeking to reduce the mega rail project's cost by half from the original 81 billion ringgit to about 40 billion ringgit.
Regional stations will become local transport.
In order to prevent the high rate of non-communicable diseases (NCD) among the B40 household income group, the Health Ministry will be introducing a new scheme known as Skim Peduli Kesihatan or PEKA, which will be announced on January 28th. The PEKA scheme, which is a pioneer project with a 100 million ringgit allocation, will focus on early detection of NCDs and will also be made available to BSHR recipients aged 50 and above.
Skim MySalam dan PEKA B40 ini akan saling melengkapi antara satu sama lain. Kedua-dua skim ini berkongsi prinsip sosial yang sama, iaitu memperluaskan akses kepada perkhidmatan kesihatan yang diperlukan, mengurangkan beban kos sara hidup dan meningkatkan kesejahteraan rakyat. Dari segi
It is estimated that 73% of total deaths in Malaysia are due to NCDs such as diabetes, half of which are caused by cardiovascular diseases, and with cancer as the third cause of death in public hospitals. The urgency for higher awareness and more effective prevention of NCDs is further reflected in the financial toll, such as on the public healthcare services, which amount to billions of ringgit annually. Malaysia is committed to bring a government and business delegation, including Khazanah Nasional Berhad, to Palestine to explore potential collaborations in Islamic finance, agriculture and renewable energy. International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Darrell Lai King said the Malaysian government views enhancing bilateral trade and investment ties with the state of Palestine as always being a priority. The minister had a sideline meeting with Palestinian Minister of National Economy, Dr. Abir Odeh, and Bank of Palestine Chairman Hashim Shawa on Tuesday during the World Economic Forum 2019 in Davos, Switzerland. The objective was to follow up on the meeting between the Palestine government with Khazanah. The Malaysian Sovereign Wealth Fund serves as the Palestine Investment Fund's investment arm in the global and regional capital markets. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry added that Palestine expressed deep appreciation for Malaysia's continuous political and economic support. Malaysia's total trade with Palestine for the period of January to November 2018 increased by 32% to reach 13 million ringgit compared with the corresponding period in 2017. Total exports rose to 7.7 million ringgit, while imports expanded to 5.3 million ringgit. A total of 13 items are subject to price control for 10 days from January 30th to February 8th in conjunction with the Chinese New Year celebration. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said during this period, traders are required to comply with the prescribed rates, failing which firm action will be taken under the Price Control and Anti-Profiteering Act 2011.
Pemantauan harga ni bukan hanya runcit tapi juga pada pengedar dan juga pemborong. Penentuan harga maksima ini, harga maksimum yang kita letakkan ni bagi pengeluar, borong dan runcit dibuat mengikut kewajaran dan kesesuaian bagi penguatkuasaan kawalan harga yang lebih berkesan untuk memastikan harga yang munasabah kepada pengguna.
He said the maximum prices that could be set by distributors and retailers were determined by monitoring the trend in their prices last year and by taking into account the views of the Agriculture Department, Veterinary Services Department and the Federal Agricultural Marketing Authority. Among the items listed under the scheme are chicken, chicken eggs, imported round cabbage, garlic, white pomfret fish, large white prawns and pork meat. Some 1,400 enforcement officers nationwide would be deployed to conduct checks at marketplaces throughout the said period. Police on Thursday raided the office of law firm Rahmat Lim and Partners for documents linked to One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB. Bukit Aman Commercial Crimes Investigation Department Acting Director Datuk Saiful Azli Kamarudin confirmed the raid at the law firm at the Mid-Valley City in Kuala Lumpur. It was reported that the law firm represented investment bankers Goldman Sachs in issuing bonds worth $6.5 billion between 2012 and 2013. Officers of the CCID were seen entering the office at 10 a.m. The media are denied entry to the firm. Meanwhile, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi Harun said he was not aware about a police raid, but said if investigators were indeed there, then there is nothing wrong with that, as it's just part of police investigations following the law.
Sebuah pagi tadi yang dilaporkan kalau ada kita sendiri apa dia akan jelaskan.
Oh, nanti no, part of the investigation, part of the process of investigation. Cuma saya minta maaf saya tak dapat detail because I want to inform about the detail.
Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi said this to reporters before joining a crime prevention patrol in Times Square shopping center in conjunction with the upcoming Chinese New Year celebrations. He also said that police investigations into 1MDB, which revolved around commercial crime and money laundering, will be completed in March. After the breather, police seek a driver in Subang Jaya's hit-and-run incident. Don't go away. Welcome back. The smoking ban at eateries in Sarawak will come into play on March 1st. State Local Government and Housing Minister Datuk Dr. Sim Kui Hian said the decision was made by the State Cabinet on Thursday for the health of the public. However, Datuk Dr. Sim said licensed operators could designate smoking spots not less than 3 meters away from the nearest table after getting the approval from the local authorities. He said the State Cabinet also agreed that the first 6 months from March 1st will be an educational enforcement period, thus no compounds will be issued during the period. Similar to the federal law, offenders found smoking at banned places in Sarawak can be fined up to 10,000 ringgit or jailed for a maximum of 2 years. Eatery owners who fail to display no smoking signs can be fined up to 3,000 ringgit or jailed up to 6 months. Police are tracking down the driver of a car responsible for the death of a 60-year-old school janitor in a hit-and-run incident early Wednesday. In the 6:15 a.m. incident, the victim, who worked at SMK USJ4, died after a car rammed into her while she was crossing the road at Persiaran Tujuan near USJ5 in Subang Jaya, Selangor. The whereabouts of the driver as well as details of the white car, however, remain unknown. Police has urged anyone with information on the driver of the car to contact the number shown on your screen. The case is being investigated under Section 4.1, subsection 1A of the Road Transport Act. In Perlis, Datuk Sri Syahidan Kasim was seen at the Kangar Sessions Court on Thursday for the prosecution's filing of a physical sexual assault case involving himself. The ROMP, who appeared to be using a cane, arrived at the court compound at about 8:30 a.m. Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Nordin Ismail submitted the case documents to Datuk Sri Syahidan's lawyers Talia Rohana Abdul Latif and Zuhair Ahmad Zakwan before Judge Ainul Shahrin Ahmad. Based on the charge sheet, the politician had allegedly sexually assaulted a girl who was then aged 15 years and 7 months by touching her arm. The act was carried out in a vehicle at the compound of Tuanku Said Putra Stadium in Kangar at about 11:30 p.m. on October 20th last year. The charge under the Sexual Offences Against Children Act provides imprisonment for up to 20 years and whipping if found guilty. The court set February 15th for case management to decide whether the case would go for trial or be dismissed. On November 12th, Datuk Sri Syahidan pleaded not guilty to the charge. The media was also told again on Thursday that the victim's family has no intention to pursue the case. Ex-DAP Assemblyman Loh Chi Heng was charged in the Shah Alam Sessions Court with 2 counts of making false claims amounting to 33,380 ringgit 4 years ago. Loh, who was then Teluk Dato Assemblyman, however, pleaded not guilty to both charges before Judge Muhammad Sabri Ismail. The former lawmaker was accused with deceiving his principal by using allocation withdrawal approval documents and a working paper on the 2015 Teluk Dato Teachers' Day celebration, which contained false information for the disbursement of 13,380 ringgit. This despite knowing that the program was not implemented. The 41-year-old also faced a second count of making a false claim for the 2015 Teluk Dato Lantern Festival program, which contained false information for the disbursement of 20,000 ringgit. The charges, framed under the MACC Act, were allegedly committed at the Kuala Langat District Office on June 8, 2015 and September 23, 2015, respectively. If found guilty, Loh faces imprisonment of up to 20 years and a fine of not less than 5 times the amount of false claims, or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher. The court allowed bail at 40,000 ringgit and set February 25th for mention. Previously, it was reported that Loh's membership in DAP was terminated in 2016 over accusations that he had misused state funds allocated for his constituency. In Pulau Pinang, an assistant administrative officer of University Science Malaysia, USM, is in remand for 4 days beginning Thursday for alleged power abuse and corruption involving 140,000 ringgit. The remand order was allowed by Assistant Registrar Muna Maria Azmi at the Georgetown Magistrates Court in Pulau Pinang, and the case is investigated under Section 23 of the 2009 MACC Act. In Selangor, a refugee under the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees UNHCR was sent to jail for 8 years by the Shah Alam High Court for smuggling a migrant into Malaysia in July last year. 32-year-old Muhammad pleaded guilty when the charge was read out to him before Judge Dato' Abdul Karim Rahman on Thursday. He was charged under Section 26A of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act. Sabah Marine Police has seized contraband liquor and cigarettes, as well as fireworks worth 8.3 million ringgit in a raid at a house that was converted into storage at Kampung Bontoy, Tamparuli on Wednesday. 3 men, including a foreign national between their 20s and 40s who were in the house, were also arrested. The seizure is said to be the biggest on record for the Marine Police in Sabah this year. Rapid KL wants stern action to be taken against the man suspected of cable theft at an MRT station on Wednesday after he intruded into the tracks and caused a delay in train service. The company stressed the alleged theft not only jeopardized the MRT service, but also the public's safety. More to come on Nightline. Scores dead after dam overflowed in Indonesia. Stay with us. We're back with the foreign news. In Indonesia, the death toll from floodings triggered by an overflowing dam in South Sulawesi province has risen to at least 30 people, with 25 people still missing on Thursday. So far, more than 3,000 people were displaced and at least 46 were being treated at local hospitals and health clinics. According to Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency, all of the victims were believed to have been drowned after floodwaters over a meter-high inundated riverside settlements in the provincial capital, Makassar. It is understood that the authorities were forced to deliver aid via helicopter after one major highway was blocked. Authorities have also placed temporary shelters and kitchens in the disaster-struck region to assist the displaced residents. Temperatures in southern Australia has topped 49 degrees on Thursday, shattering previous records and endangering wildlife. The Bureau of Meteorology reported temperatures of 49.5 Celsius north of Adelaide, while inside the city, temperatures reached 47.7 Celsius, breaking a record that had stood since 1939. More than 13 other towns across South Australia have also smashed their own heat records. The state's health authorities early Thursday reported that at least 44 people had received emergency treatment for heat-related illnesses in the past 24 hours. Health authorities were also forced to issue a public warning to avoid contact with hundreds of heat-stressed bats falling from trees in parkland areas. Authorities were also forced to cull more than 50 feral horses after they found 90 dead or dying wild brumbies near a dried-up waterhole. Over in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro announced on Wednesday that the country has cut off diplomatic relations with the United States, giving American diplomats 72 hours to leave the country. This was after Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself as the nation's interim president earlier on Wednesday, which was supported by several international governments, including U.S. President Donald Trump. Maduro was previously elected last year with 67.84% of the votes on last May's presidential election. However, Guaido, along with the Trump administration and its allies, claimed that the election was rigged so that the dictator could win a second six-year term. Trump, meanwhile, said in a statement that the U.S. would continue to use economic and diplomatic power to press for the restoration of Venezuelan democracy. Meanwhile, a total of 4 people have died following overnight clashes ahead of a protest against President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas on Wednesday. A 16-year-old was among the dead, having suffered a firearm injury during a demonstration in the capital, while 3 other deaths occurred during looting in Bolivar City in the southeastern Bolivar state that borders Brazil. The protest was the first mass street rally since 125 people died during protests between April and July 2017. Tensions have been running high in the country since Monday, when a group of soldiers took over a command post in the north of the capital and rose up against Maduro, publishing a video calling on people to come out into the streets in support. We're back with sports. Badminton, the 2019 Daihatsu Indonesian Masters. 3 national representatives march into the quarterfinals after Lee Zijia and 2 national mixed doubles pair, Chan Peng-soon, Goh Liu Ying and Goh Soon-hwat, Siwon Lai, beat their respective opponents on Thursday. Lee Zijia put on a fine display in the men's singles match as he dispatched Thailand's Sittikom Tamasin 21-13, 21-10 in just 40 minutes. He will next face Anders Antonsen from Denmark for a place in the semi-final. Whereas in the mixed doubles, Peng-soon Liu Ying blew away England's pair of Ben Lane and Jessica Pugh 21-13, 21-10. They will need to beat another England pair, Marcus Ellis and Lauren Smith, for a place in the last 4. Also through were Soon-hwat, Siwon Lai, who beat England's Chris and Gabriel Adcock 21-19, 21-23, 21-7. Waiting for them will be world #1 pair Zheng Siwei, Huang Yationg of China. That sports item wraps up Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look as hundreds of horses run across the Shandanjun farm against snow-developed mountains in Gansu Province, China, creating a magnificent view. With that, I'm Nakia Bashiruddin. Thanks for your company. Take care.